We are live.
Two people already.
Ooh, well, one might be me. Okay, let me get into this. Okay, come up. Here we go. And let's get in chat. Oops. Turn that down. Oh, shit. Shoot. Okay, live chat. Here we go. Ilona is on with us. Hi, Ilona. Merry Christmas, Ilona. So we'll just wait for a few more people to get on. I don't know how many we'll have today. Pretty close to Christmas, so people are probably trying to do those last minute things and whatnot out there. So this is our special Christmas edition. What makes it special?
Because it's not on Sunday.
Because it's not on Sunday. That's right. It's on Saturday. So just see. So Ilona, how are you, and have you got everything ready for Christmas? That is assuming that you celebrate Christmas. I should never make that assumption in this modern day and age. Catherine is here. Hi, Catherine. And Crafton Bev is here. Hi, Crafton Bev. So I was just asking Ilona if she had everything ready for Christmas. That seems to be the question everybody asks. Christmas by humbug. Do we have everything ready? Well, I started the cooking today for Monday, and tomorrow Walter will have to do the bird, and there's some other things you need to do, and then that way there's not as much to do on Christmas Day. Ilona says, married to you both. Yes, I'm about ready. Well, that's good to know. How about you, Catherine and Bev? You guys all ready? As ready as we can get, I suppose. And there's always a bit of a time delay between when I say something and when it gets out there. Got 7 people on so far. Well, that's 6 more than I thought. Catherine's got lots of cookies to bake overnight. Yeah. My cookies are all done. Didn't bake them. Bottom. We have a nice little Dutch bakery in the town next door to us, and they have some good stuff. So I went, 2 weeks ago, stocked up on, I got about $70 or $80 worth of Christmas goodies. Overkill. I always do overkill. And I froze them. And I have to remember to take those out. I should take them out probably tonight, so that tomorrow they'll be in, some of them have to cut up and make up my dessert trays with those. Bev says, my family's coming over for Christmas Eve dinner. I am hosting and I'm totally ready. And Ilona says, what are you drinking? Well, we're going to talk about it in a minute. And Bev is I'm doing a taco bar because we're tired of turkey and ham. That sounds like fun. Except my family, well, my sister would. My sister and brother-in-law did eat tacos. I'm not sure if my mother would.
Your mother might be put off because it's Christmas Day and you should.
Yeah, you should have traditional. Yeah, well, we're having traditional, so that's okay. With that,
we don't eat it that often, so
and
we have tacos more often.
Yeah, like tonight. Well, we're not having tacos tonight. We're having nachos tonight. I'm just looking down my list here. Jody is here. Greetings, everyone. Jody here from Colorado. She rearranged her errands today so that she could join us. So that's nice of you. Your drinks sure look yummy, Stephen. Are those Manhattans? No, they are not.
They're not.
But what they are, okay, get ready for this. I said to Walter, we need a sound effect. These are called bitch slaps. Yeah. Slap me, bitch. What's in it, you may be asking? Okay, what is in it?
It is.
He's looking over the counter.
Sourpuss apple, sourpuss raspberry, melon liqueur, and a little bit of vodka.
Yeah.
And in the bottom, there's gummy bears.
There's gummy bears in the bottom. I know you can't see them through this. The color is not that interesting.
I think we found the recipe at a bar we used to go to.
Oh crap! I spilled it.
And I think maybe they used more of the green stuff than I maybe used too much of the red stuff.
No, but anyways, it's Christmassy because the green and the red and all of that.
Sort of a pukey brown.
And and the best part about the gummy bears is at the end they soak up a lot of the alcohol. So don't give these to your kids if they're underage. But they are quite good. But I like the name, Bitch Slap. Actually, we have a whole line of cocktail martinis that we make sometimes when we have people over. We let them pick. I have my little list here that I magnetized and put on the side of my fridge so I would remember. So if you want to know, we have the Raspatini, which is Chambord and raspberry vodka. Chambord, if you don't know what it is,
It's a black currant liqueur.
yeah, it's not a cheap liqueur. It's like about $40 for a bottle of it, but it's my favorite liqueur. It is very, very good. And then we have something we call the Chocolate Monkey. You've probably heard of that before. That's cream de cacao, creme de banana, and vanilla vodka. And then there's one we call the Cherry Popper Blast, which is cream de cacao and cherry vodka. And then we have a Blue Job. Got to be careful with that one. It's a Blue Job. Sourpuss Apple, Sourpuss Raspberry, and Blueberry Vodka. So it's kind of similar to this, except with blueberry vodka. Raspberry Pucker, which is Sourpuss Raspberry and Raspberry Vodka. Then the After 8 Kiss, which is cream de cacao, cream de menthe, and vanilla vodka. Bite Me Bitch Apple. We had a theme going on at the party that I made these up for. Sourpuss Apple and vanilla vodka. And then we have the Orange Smack, Triple Sec, cream de cacao, and vanilla vodka. And then, of course, the Bitch Slap, which we're having there. So, all very tasty. Another one that I like is I have another set that I named after certain artworks. And I think it was the Picasso and that, or no, or maybe it was the Monet. The Monet was champagne and Chambord, which is a very nice drink. A little Chambord in your champagne, very nice. So I highly recommend you trying those. Anyways, they're kind of festive for the holidays. Not that we're making this for anybody that's coming over on Monday.
No, because they probably won't drink it.
No, they're beer and wine people, and that's about it. Well, my sister would probably, but
I don't know. Your sister seems to not drink much wine anymore either. So
yeah,
her and her husband drink beer, and that's it.
Catherine says I'll take one of each. Yes, and I have, and I know how I feel the next day. Not good. Just looking here. Catherine's after attending midnight mass tomorrow. I celebrate. And Melly's here. Hello, boys and everybody. So, Melly, how's the snow in Finland? We're snowing. We have snow right now, and in fact, I did do a video today. We went out to go to the store for a couple of things, and it's been lightly snowing all day. But I did take a video showing what the roads look like here when it's snowing and how we drive through it. Did that especially for any of the Aussies, since that last year that taxi driver asked us if we actually drove in it. We said, "Oh yeah, we do." When you're covered in it for like 4 months out of the year, you kind of have to drive in it. But anyways, I took that video, but unfortunately I can't show you the video when we're live. Just don't have the technology to do it.
Point it out the window.
What? Well, yeah, true, but then I got to reline it all up and everything, so that's not going to work. But I am going to show it on my vlog, which, while I'm talking about the vlog would normally be on Monday, but that's Christmas Day, of course. So I'm going to do it on Boxing Day, which is the day after. So it'll be one day late this week. And I got a lot of things to show you, too, because a little preview. I've been sewing again. Walter laughs. I made another couple of tote bags. Remember the fabric that I designed myself and printed on my printer? I used some of that in it. My bags are coming out pretty good. I really like making them. I'm having one problem though. It's making a square bottom. The gussets. I have watched several different videos. They make it look so easy, but for some reason, I can't get it. I can get it on a little tiny sample. I tried it on a piece of scrap material, and I got it to work there. But on something bigger, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm just not getting it right. So if anybody knows an easy way to make a boxed bottom on a tote bag, put it in the comments below, or if you know of a video or something. I've seen several videos. They all do it the same way, and I'm just not getting it. But I'm going to keep practicing.
You're a little slow.
What's that? Yeah, right. Well, I'm teaching myself how to sew.
Okay, fine.
And I'm not doing too bad. I mean, well, I'll talk about those on my vlog on Tuesday, and I'll show you the samples. But I like doing that. And I just ordered something online that I just saw Barb Owen in the last half hour. She was reviewing it earlier today. It's a spray starch, but it's not an aerosol. It's a pump bottle. It's called the Best Press something, and she uses it on cottons and things to stiffen them up like you would a spray starch. But this stuff, quilters use it apparently a lot, and I thought, it's not bad, and it wasn't that expensive on Amazon. I bought actually a big bottle of it, 32 ounce, and I think it was $20 Canadian. And I have Prime now, so I get free 2 day shipping on that.
I don't know. I always thought their shipping was pretty fast anyway. So.
Yeah, but we get Prime Television now too, and Prime Amazon Music. Well, it's only $79 a year, so I'm giving it a try, and we'll see. Because I do order a fair amount of stuff off Amazon, so it's not like it's giving me a discount. Really, it's just pushing things up to I get 2 day shipping on most things. So, what else we've got going on here? I'm way behind. Catherine says, I'll take one of each, yes. Melly says, it's been snowing all day. Traffic was in chaos today. And Catherine says, have you watched Sewing with Nancy's videos on how to? She explains so well. Actually, that's right. I should be checking hers out because she's famous. Well, she just passed away just a month ago, I guess. But she's pretty much the guru, I guess, of sewing videos. So yeah, I should check her stuff out because I'm sure she's probably got one about that. And Ilona says, try Debbie Shaw. She has some good YouTubes. Oh, okay. Let me write that down. Nancy for sewing and
Debbie Shaw.
Debbie Shaw. I wonder if that's the one I did watch the other day. There was some woman, and she has a lot of videos. I don't know. I can't remember now. I just searched sewing box bottom bag on YouTube, and lots of videos came up. Yes, there's lots of videos there. I guess I just have to watch a bunch more. You have to pull the corners out, cut out a piece, pull the corners this way, and the seams have to go together. And I think I've got it, but then when I sew it across, I pinch it, and I try not to, and I don't know. I'll keep trying. Sewing with Nancy is where I learned how to do a lot of sewing techniques. And Melly says, have you got your spoon flower order yet? Nice to see how it comes out. It hasn't come yet, and I would anticipate that I won't see it till after, well, obviously not till after Christmas now. But yeah, I'm really curious about that. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Melly sent me a link to a bunch of information on printing your own fabric, but she sent me this particular link to something called Spoonflower in the United States. And you send them your design, you just upload it to their system, and they'll print it out on different types of material for you. They'll even make wallpaper out of it. They'll make wrapping paper out of it, whatever. And so I ordered 4 yards of material made from one of my designs, actually the same design as I used in my video for printing. What are you laughing at?
About if you printed out all the cloth, right, and you printed out all the wallpaper, and you make an outfit.
You could blend into the wall.
You'd be like camouflage.
Camouflage, can't see me. That could be a screen. But their prices aren't bad. It was $17.50 a yard for cotton, printed. Their shipping is only about $8. I'm talking I'm talking in Canadian dollars. They have it in American dollars, but what's really nice about their site is
it's 2 cents.
Yeah, you can click on a thing that'll just do the conversion automatically and show you what it is in Canadian dollars. So I think in total I ordered 4 yards, and with the shipping, it's costing me about $88 Canadian. So that's not bad. I mean, material isn't cheap, as I've been finding out when I'm making these bags and things like that. But I'm really curious to see how this turns out and what I can do with it. And I mean, if it's half decent, which I think it probably will be, then I'll order more. And I can put up as many designs as I want, and you can actually sell your designs online. Other people can go in, see your designs if you set it up that way, and they will sell it. This company will make the material and ship it to them, and you can make some money. Now, I don't know how it works, what percentage they take or whatever. I would imagine they would take a fairly hefty percentage because it's their materials and it's their printing and everything like that. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's another experiment, and I'm always about experiments. So, yep, been up to that. We are having slightly burnt hors d'oeuvres. Well, slightly crispy. I put them in the toaster oven a little long. They're very exotic. Now, you may want to run and get a pen to write down the recipe for these. Take a cracker, any kind of cracker. Take a piece of cheese, any kind of cheese. Find an old olive, slice it up, throw it on, melt it down, you got an hors d'oeuvre.
You summer had pickles on it.
Yeah, I ran out of olives. So, they're not bad. Something for a little different. Okay. So, big thing we had this week, as you know, it was our anniversary on Thursday, our 34th. And thank you to all those people who sent us congratulations and best wishes and things like that for our anniversary. It was nice to hear from you. A little sip on the bitch here, slap. And well, Walter cooked a gourmet dinner. So, what did you make?
You started off with escargot.
Did escargot, but he used a recipe we found online some time ago for making the sauce for the escargot. That's like the keg, the way the keg does. Now, I'm sure if you're in if you're an
I think there's a
American-
few states that have kegs, but not very often.
Oh, yeah?
Keg is a Canadian steak restaurant, which is a chain steak
This is
restaurant.
chain.
But it's pretty good. So as far as chain restaurants,
So what? It's actually a Canadian company.
it's a Canadian chain.
Oh, I didn't realize
They
that.
actually have one in Texas somewhere,
Oh.
but
They're like a steakhouse, roast beef, that kind of stuff. But they're very, very good. We like it a lot, and I especially love the way they do their steaks and their prime rib, and they do and I love escargot. And everybody, I'm sure, knows what escargot. I know some people will turn their nose up at them because they're snails, but escargot bourguignon, which is basically the sauce that's on the escargot. Oh, I think what the keg does too is they put them in little, mushroom cap.
yeah, they do.
But yeah,
I didn't do that.
no, but I forgot about that. But anyways, we found this recipe that's like whatever they use on theirs, and it came out pretty good. We were missing a couple of the minor ingredients, so we kind of, and when I say we, Walter, kind of improvised.
Well, not only that, the recipe I had was like for 48 of them.
Yeah.
We're only
Well, it called for like
No,
3/4 of a cup of butter.
yeah. Well, I put probably a quarter cup of butter in it. But anyway,
They're not low
so
fat.
I sort of like guessed how to put the stuff in. It tasted pretty
It
close.
was
but it
pretty
wasn't-
close.
It wasn't exactly, but it tasted pretty close. But that's okay.
But we had a devil of a time. Walter went looking for escargot. Now, escargot come in a can, packed in water. They have them usually in grocery stores. You can even buy them in the dollar stores. Dollar store escargot. I mean, they're ridiculously cheap when you buy them in a store. You get a can, how many were in that can?
31 to 40 or something.
31 to 40 escargot in a can for about $1.50. Okay? If you were to get the escargot in a restaurant at the keg anyways, you get 6 little escargot stuffed in a mushroom cap with the sauce, and I think they're what, $8.99?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to places where you get the same amount like that for
And I've read-
$12.99.
And I've read that they use canned escargot.
Yeah. Well, are they going out in the trees and picking them off and cleaning them up?
No.
I remember in the old days, back in the 70s, that was really exotic in a restaurant, and that's where I probably first had escargot, 70s, early 80s, something like that. But they stuffed them in the shell with the garlic butter and everything, and then you had the little fork, and you had to go pry the sucker out of the little shell, which was more work than it was worth. In fact,
Sobeys, our grocery store here, had
the ones that are
had
pre-made
ones
like that?
pre-made in the shell, but they wanted $11 for
Yeah, for something that's and a lot of restaurants now. In fact, over the years, I haven't really seen any restaurants serving them in those little shells. They all serve them in the little dishes. We have
Yeah.
some of those dishes. The ones with the little. They look like a paint palette. could use it as a paint palette, actually. I never thought of that.
Yeah, but I don't use it as scar go
No,
afterwards.
well, no, I don't think, I wouldn't be using it for that, but that's how they do them. Well, probably because they're easier to do that way.
Yeah.
Because you just mix up the stuff, and you can warm, did you do them in the microwave?
No, if you go in the microwave, they go weird. No, I did them in the oven.
Oh.
The microwave will make them go
Oh,
tough.
they'll go a little tough, yeah, that's right. We had rubber ruins once, because I did them in the microwave. I do everything in the microwave. Anyways, they were quite tasty, and you have to serve them with some crusty loaf so you can suck up the juice. Like I said, not if you're on a diet, you will not eat these. And
Anyway, so okay, that's what I had appetizer, and then I made use of the sous vide thing, and made lobster tails with steak again,
yeah, so it's surf and turf.
and I also did the asparagus in the sous vide.
And they came out great, all of them. That sous
Actually,
vide
the
is-
lobster came out really, really, really good.
Yeah, it was nice and juicy. It was they were a
They
couple of
were
tails.
a couple of tails I got at Costco, and
Hi, Cindy.
I followed some instructions on the internet. Basically, you remove the meat and then put them in a vacuum sealed bag or a bag that takes the air out. And I cooked them at 133 degrees Fahrenheit, and along with the steak.
For how long?
Well, the steak I had in for about two hours and a bit, and the lobster was in for about an hour. And it came out. It wasn't rubbery.
No.
It came out really tender.
It was really
It
good.
was probably the best lobster I've ever had.
And the asparagus came out perfect.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the asparagus could have stood
Could have
maybe
been a little
another
longer,
minute
yeah.
in there. Although it might have been a little too. I like it crisp though. I don't like the limp asparagus.
Yeah.
Like, you pick it up and it looks like spinach.
But that was okay.
Yeah, it turned out fine. And then you did the baked potatoes again in the Instapot,
Yeah.
which I like to eat the skin on my potato. Like I wash them very thoroughly. I scrub them.
Yeah.
And then, well, but it's even better in the Instapot because the skin goes really tender. And
It stays moist.
yeah, I know some people probably think that's really weird to eat the skin on the potato, but I know lots of people that do. It's probably the more nutritious part of it. I don't know.
Actually, we often microwave the potatoes, and I find in the Instapot, because it uses steam or does pressure cooking, actually the potato comes out a little nicer.
Yeah, it does. So, and then we had to buy another appliance because we have the circulator for doing sous vide. So we got one of those food saver vacuum things. We had one a long time ago, a cheaper version, which we use basically to,
We never really used the suction on it because it
No.
wasn't very good.
no, it wasn't.
And
But this one sucks it right out of the bag. Like
yeah, so
it's a good thing, but for the sous vide cooking, you're supposed to like do it in a vacuum bag. You can do it in Ziploc bags, and that's
you can do it in a Ziploc bag, but you gotta be careful not to
get water in it.
get water in the bag, right? Which actually isn't that difficult. But last week when I did it in the Ziploc, I still had a little bit of air in it, and it tended to start floating up.
Yeah.
And mind you, I had that problem with the lobster. It had still a bit of air in it too.
It was trying to get out. It was swimming around.
But it was easier because it was completely sealed on all the way. That I could just shove the whole bag in. So,
Yeah, so it
but I
worked
don't
pretty
know.
good. Yeah, so we have just.
So I'm going to make my next experiment later today.
Oh yes.
I'm going to try and make creme brulee for dessert for tomorrow or for Monday.
Yeah.
And sous vide, which is I've looked online, and what they do it is they put it in little mason jars and put it in the water bath, and creme brulee's optimum temperature is 176 degrees. So you set the sous vide to 176 degrees, and then apparently cook it for about an hour.
And it won't curdle.
And it won't curdle. It's already in a little jar, so you can use it as serving.
Yep.
And I hope that it works out because that would be perfect.
Yep. It's not like we don't have enough dessert tomorrow.
No.
But it's Christmas. Piggy's at the trough. Let's just back up here and see what people have to say. Well, this is rather a personal question, isn't it, Catherine? Do you chew them or swallow whole? The escargot. Oh, she means the escargot. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Actually, I chew them.
I chew them.
But they can slide right down pretty easy too, because it depends on how big they are. But usually,
I choose them. I don't know, they're not that rubbery or anything.
No.
No.
Actually, I love escargot.
Actually, I had learned to like it. I didn't really care for them that much when I first tried them, but
Well, they don't really. If you didn't,
they don't have a whole lot of
if
flavor.
you were just to eat an escargot with nothing on it, it'd just be kind of rubbery and there's really no flavor to them. You need to have the sauces like the garlic butter or like the keg stuff that we made up or whatever. You have to season them for any flavor to them. Now, the only thing I don't like about escargot, and this is something that used to happen in the days when they used to stuff them in the shells, you've got to wash them because there can be grit in them. Now, the ones that you get today in the cans I have never had really that problem with them, but I remember having them.
Occasionally, I've had that.
Yeah.
I rinse them all off.
Well, yeah, you want to rinse them anyways. But I had them in a restaurant once when they were stuffed in the shell,
And it's gritty,
And
and
it was
that's
gritty,
gross.
and that's gross. You're eating sand.
Yeah.
So no. Catherine says I only ate them once after many drinks. And Mel says I couldn't eat those. Makes me sick even thinking about eating those. Have you ever tried them though, Mel? I mean, I know.
I mean, we won't eat oysters, but
No, and I mean, but I have tried oysters, and that's why I know I don't like them. But I used to be that way probably about escargot too but I never had back when I was a kid. I didn't have any opportunity to have escargot, and then it was later in life when I don't know where I had them the first time I ever had them or not. I don't know, but I fell in love with them. They are one of my favorite appetizers.
only because they're covered in butter.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, butter makes everything better. Bev says, I had them once when I went to France. They weren't bad, but they were in the shell. Yes. Bev also says she's always eating skin on my baked potatoes. And Mel says skin potatoes are great, especially when done in fire outside. Yeah, well, we wrap ours in tinfoil if we do them on the barbecue. I've never actually just done them. I know that people do.
No, I've never tried that.
Never really tried that.
Maybe another thing to
Yeah.
try.
And Catherine says, I seldom peel my potatoes used in any recipe. Skin's nutritious. The only thing is about the skin, though, in certain recipes, like I have had potato salad where they've left the skin on the potato, and that it doesn't taste bad or anything like that. I just find the texture in potato salad, in
I don't
cold
like it
potato
when the
salad.
skins all start coming off. And
Yeah. Oh, that's when they're really good. But I don't like it in
no,
potato
I meant
salad.
in potato salad or
yeah.
something. I've never been crazy with mashed potatoes that have skins in them.
Jody says, woohoo, go Walter. And Dorothy's here. Hi, Dorothy. It's okay, Dorothy. You don't have to apologize for being late. I mean, I'm not taking attendance. I am. I really. No, I'm not. I'm not taking attendance.
Actually, I kind of did a goof though on the anniversary dinner. I forgot dessert.
Oh, yeah, but I was going to say, but we had dessert. Walter pulled out 2 chocolate bars from the dollar store. And one of them wasn't that fresh.
Oh, wow.
It was a Turkish Delight chocolate bar by was that even by Cadbury?
I don't know who it was from by. I don't know who makes those.
It's not really Big Turk. Well, Big I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know who makes
Roundtree?
Big Turk.
I don't know.
Does Roundtree exist anymore? I don't think Roundtree exists anymore.
No, they've been bought out probably by somebody.
I thought Roundtree got bought out by Cadbury, and they used to be a British company. The Roundtree.
Yeah, but I thought Cadbury has also been bought out now by somebody.
Well, who knows? But my mouth is full. Talk. I'm trying to eat.
Well, there's the fries ones and
fries chocolate. Yeah.
but that's British.
Yeah. But anyways, that was dessert. We didn't really need dessert, believe me. We had a little champagne, but then that's nothing new. We have champagne all the time. Yeah, that's what we did on our anniversary. And then watch TV. Watch YouTube. Excitement. So much excitement. Actually, 1 year ago today, we landed in Sydney. And I wish I was there now. Sort of. I wish I was anywhere but here.
And Christmas Day we did the bridge climb.
That's right. Last year, on Christmas Day, we did the Harbor Bridge climb and walk in Sydney. That was fantastic.
And Santa was at the top to greet us.
Yeah, Santa was at the very top, and you got our pictures taken with Santa, but it was really windy, and Santa was having definitely a bad hair day. Most of his beard and his hair was going in his face and in his mouth and everywhere else.
And I was a little concerned about going up it because I have fear heights. But I managed to do okay.
Cherry, that's Anita's here. Hello, Anita. And Sandy is here. Word is that Cadbury in the U.S. is now owned by Hershey, a disgrace.
Yeah, probably.
Probably is. And Merry Christmas to you too, Anita. And Jody says, how is your tablescape ideas coming along for Christmas? Well, tomorrow I'm going to set up the tables. And we bought a centerpiece.
I forgot to water it.
I hope it's still alive.
Okay.
It is alive. Go get it and show people. This is a nice centerpiece that we got. We got it at
Well,
Costco.
it's actually fixed plants.
It's plants.
Need to put more water.
But I didn't really want a real poinsettia this year and that because I have a tendency not to water them. And if Walter forgets, then all the leaves are on the table with this. But then we found this at Costco. And we thought this was really nice. And it's got this greenery and the whole thing very Christmassy and whatnot. And it'll probably last a while after Christmas as well because it's potted. So I thought it turned out...
Moist.
It's still? Yeah, I thought it was really quite nice. And it only cost what? What were they?
$19. $20. $19.99.
Yeah. So it was a really good price. All right, so here's what I'm doing with the table. I'm doing dual purpose. Because our dining room table won't hold everybody at once, we're having everything down in the rec room. And I have collapsible tables that I'm going to set up, and I bought Christmas tablecloths and everything for them. But it'll be dual purpose. When people come, that will be sort of some appetizers on that, and glasses and the wine and whatnot and everything from that. And then it's going to be a buffet dinner. So then people have the option, they can sit at that table if they so desire. Or they can sit wherever. We don't have that many people. There's only 10 of us. So, but it's easier too on my mother because my mother, as you know, her mobility is not that good. So we have to go down some stairs to get to the rec room. And so going up...
Our front entrance is sort of halfway
Yeah.
between the upstairs and the downstairs. So when you walk in the front door, you either have to go 5 steps up or you have to go 5 steps down.
So once I get her in one spot, I'm not moving her. So anyways, yeah, so I've been making the table scatter. So originally, you saw it in my vlog, if you saw it this past Monday, I showed you the snowflakes I made from the perler beads. And originally, those were my ideas for table scatter. I was just going to use them there. Then I thought, they're kind of thick, whatnot. So I've put them in other places downstairs as decorations. But I cut with my Cricut Maker a bunch of snowflakes out of glitter, Cricut glitter paper. And the beauty of the Cricut glitter paper is it's actually printed glitter paper. It won't come off. So you don't have like little bits of glitter stuck to everything. And I'm going to throw those around on the table. I made them in several different colors, so that'll be kind of pretty. And I made another Christmas decoration yesterday because I was bored. So I went on Cricut Maker's site, Design Space, and found this one for a 3-dimensional type of star. It took a while to make it, and it was a bit of a bitch to put together too, because you've got these score lines, and you have to fold it, and then you have to glue things in. And basically, which I didn't tell Walter, but you know those lines of snow that I put on it and everything? They hide the glue gun. Because I reinforced it with a glue gun and I didn't want to see the glue. So anyways, it looks okay. It turned out not too bad with it. Would I make another one? No. That was enough. Let's see what are people saying here. Very pretty, very modern looking too, the centerpiece. Stephen, you could make coasters of those beads. Works well. Yeah, I wondered about that. Because when I did the snowflakes, they looked like coasters. And I thought, well... could they though be used with like a hot beverage? If you used a coffee cup, but they do take quite a bit to melt them. So I don't think a coffee cup would be so
No,
hot it would melt them. So yeah, you could use them as
probably, yeah.
coasters as well. And that's what Catherine just said. Wouldn't the snowflakes make nice coasters? Yes, they do. I have a ton of coasters. I've got them coming out of my yin yang. And I've got some really nice looking coasters too. Ones that look like fused glass kind of a thing and whatnot. So these would make better coasters, I think, for outside on your patio because they're plastic and they're more summery and it's got that kind of look to them. If you're looking for a coaster that's a little bit more elegant in design, I don't think these would work for that because they are still basically plastic beads that you've fused together. And they look like plastic beads you fuse together. They look really cool when you're making things for other stuff, and I'm going to show you what I did with that big butterfly on my vlog on Tuesday, because I did do it on a canvas with it. I think it turned out not too bad, but we'll talk more about that in my vlog, so you'll have to tune into the vlog. That's how I get you to watch my vlog. I tease you with things like this. Okay, so everybody's talking about now about making them into coasters. Yep. Coasters work. So that was our big anniversary. We've talked about that. Talked about the new kitchen toy, which is the Food Saver. Told you about sewing more tote bags. I have a feeling I'm going to have a run on tote bags. The latest one that I made, I couldn't get the corners right. So I kind of cheated. I put it on my serger because the material that I used, I bought a yard of material over at Michael's to try, and it not unraveled, frayed like crazy. And so I just eventually put it through the serger just to stop the fraying. But I didn't get the box corners right. So I cut them off and sewed it around, and now it looks like there's little leg holes. It looks like you should be having, it should be for a baby. It looks like you put a baby in it and their feet would come out the bottom, which could be really fun if I made some fake baby legs or something on it. But I'll show you that on the vlog as well. Let's see, what are people saying? Jody says, did that other big order arrive of the beads? And Walter, did you separate them out once again?
No,
you
not
should have
yet.
a cocktail. She says you should have a cocktail before you start sorting. Yes, the 22,000 bead jar did arrive. It's sitting downstairs. And I bought this little tool that they have for, it's a scoop on one end. So the idea is you scoop up your beads in it, and then they drop down one at a time, and I guess you could put them on your peg boards. But I thought, well, that might work for sorting. Not really, because you can't really see very well what color's there, and you've got multiple ones, so I don't think it would be any faster.
I found a thing on the internet where they use a straw to make a sorting tool. So I put one together this afternoon.
Oh, did you?
And I'm going to try and use it. And from what I've seen on the video, I think will make life a little easier.
Well, anyways, I got the big jar of them, more or less, not so much to sort them all out, because I also put in an order to another place, and I ordered thousands of beads, but I ordered them in individual packages of 1,000 in different colors, so there's no sorting necessary with those, because they'll all come in these packages. I'm not sure when those will arrive. Again, you order stuff at this time of the year. Now
It's kind of iffy how soon it arrives.
Soon. And it's a place, though, local. Well, not local to us, but not all that far away from us. 100 kilometers away, roughly. Maybe a little bit more than that. On the other side of the city.
60 miles.
60 miles? Well, whatever.
Is that 60?
Yeah, I guess. Mel says, I'm actually just doing some coasters for my mother. I photographed her oil and acrylic paints and use these images glued on MDF board. Well, that's a good idea. So you're probably sealing it, are you, over the top with something like Mod Podge? I have done that, but I'll tell you one thing about if you use Mod Podge to seal it. It's okay if your drink is cold. If you use something hot, it will actually stick into the Mod Podge. Well, Mod Podge is basically glue, and glue is basically polymer with binders in it, so it's plastic. So that's why. But there's probably other things you can put on it that won't stick. If that's a problem, I don't know. Anita says, when I was in elementary school, I bought a wall hanging made out of those beads in the shape of Snoopy Dog and a big yellow smiley face, and that was a long time ago. Oh, they've been around forever, I think. To me, they're new. Never thought about them. Never cared to think about them. I'm not
I
really
never
into
really heard
beading.
about them until we saw them on a YouTube video.
And that was just
so.
a oops, kind of a thing when we found it. So
Maybe if you had kids, you might be.
yeah, see, they seem to market it towards children, at least in
They say 6 and
Michael's.
up, so.
Yeah, I don't know. They'd be sticking them up their nose.
Well, no, I imagine if you had little tiny kids, they'd be good at choking hazard, but.
Well, that could be fun too, but I don't know. Catherine wants to know, mouth is full, what will you be doing with all the bags you're making? I have no idea. Right now, I consider them prototypes, meaning I'm still experimenting. I don't know what I'll do with them. I like making them. I like sewing. I have discovered that I really like sewing. And I would like to take a sewing class. The only thing that stops me from taking a sewing class is, first of all, I'd have to know, do they, it's got to be a sewing class for rank amateurs. Like, okay, there's a toaster, there's a microwave, there's a sewing machine. Which one can you sew with in the room? That would have to be at that
Well,
level.
you could ask, at that sewing place in Whitby.
Yeah,
or
true. They had
whatever,
that Serger one that's on January the.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask them, how basic it is.
But yeah, I would like to take a class, and as long as I know that the class is going to be where they're not going to make fun of me, because I know nothing. Well, I know something. I've learned on my own. I've learned quite a bit. I think I have gone beyond your sewing skills.
Yeah.
Of course,
I
you
don't
did
have-
do drapes. Well, valances. And that. And you did make that dress that one time.
And that's from not knowing anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't use the pattern either.
Hmm.
So of course, it's sort of half-assed, but.
Well, the last bag, the bag I made with pockets in it, I didn't really use a pattern per se.
That's for sure.
It turned out nice.
Yeah, except the pockets don't
Okay.
work the way you wanted it
Well,
to work.
that's because I forgot to. They work. In fact, I got
Yeah,
more
they work.
pockets than I wanted
Okay.
out of it. But
Surprise
I
pockets.
forgot to sew it. You get sewing is you got to think about what you're doing.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
the number of times I ripped things out. Actually, to be honest, I kind of like ripping stuff out. The little ripper, it's kind of therapeutic. I find, like going through the seam ripper kind of a deal. I don't know, I'm just a little weird on that, I guess. But I really enjoy sewing, and I'm working my way up to learning more about quilting. I've got some videos on it, as I've told you before, and I find it fun. I do. I had a little stabbing accident, but I didn't do it with the sewing machine needle. I did it with the seam ripper. I punched my finger. A little mark right there. Oh, it's a boo-boo. Kiss it better. Let's see what's going on here. What are people saying? Oh, and Nairi is here. Good to see you. And now you're on my Facebook and I'm on yours. And I checked out your photos and everything. You have very good-looking family, Nairi. You must say your sons are nice-looking men. Your husband looks like he's probably a lot of fun too. So, okay, back it up here. But there's only one Walter. What does that come from? What are you doing? All your bags should be making. Okay. Everyone should have one Walter at home. He seems to be multi-talented cooking, sorting. I will rent him out to you. No problem. You pay for the shipping. I'll bundle him in a box, throw in a carrot just to keep him alive, and when you get him. But there's only one Walter. Yep. They made him. They threw away the mold. It was already cracked. Mel says, I use gel medium and then I use acrylic varnish, or what you call it. That works well. Oh, okay. Yeah, the acrylic varnish. I didn't think about that. That would probably work pretty good. Jody says, will you be playing Christmas music at your Christmas dinner? What kind of Christmas music do you like, and do you use Spotify? I don't use Spotify, but I will be playing Christmas music, and I went on YouTube and found a bunch of compilations that have slideshows on them. So they'll be on our big TV set downstairs, and if people get bored, they can watch the slideshow go by. Kind of a deal. I have a mixture of traditional Christmas stuff, and I like the more modern kind of things, but What? The two of the modern canon, yet you have to have at Christmas. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, and of course Wham, which was George Michael. Back in the day when he first got started, is Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart. Then the next day you threw it or whatever out or something. Actually, it's not a very cheery Christmas song. It's about a breakup and being abused and all kinds of fun things. So if you suffer from depression, that's a good song to listen to. What more we got? Yes, we use them. This is Anita. She says, yes, we used them at kids' camp last year. The kids loved seeing how they came out, meaning the perler beads. And hi, Sandy. So we got a whole lot of hi Sandys here. And Anita says, I grew up with quilters, but I do not quilt. And Jody says, I think it's wonderful, Stephen, that you try new things. It's very inspiring. Yeah, well, got a lot of time on my hands. And Dorothy says, I worked in a shirt making factory, and the amount of times the sewing machine needle went through my finger, I lost count of. Ooh! Ooh, 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 ooh. That makes me squirm. I don't like needles to start with. I'm very, very careful with where my hands are when I'm sewing with it. I know there's going to be one day, though. It'll be inevitable. It's just the odds are against me.
Luckily, you didn't work in a lumber company.
Oh, God, yeah, well, yeah. How do you make a peace sign? Yeah, out of that. And Dorothy says that was 45 years ago, though. Bev says, I'm a very slower because I do not want, I'm a very slow sewer, I think she means, because I do not want a needle to go through my finger ever again. Yeah, I think so. I can understand that. Well, every craft has its
Yeah, like you do stained glass, you always end up with a million cut fingers. So
yeah, ooh. You
get
know,
used to it after a while.
yeah,
Actually, it'd be good to be diabetic. You could test your blood at the same time.
and just as long as you're not a bleeder.
Yeah, well, I was on blood thinners when I started that before, and I would go.
Oh, that explains. And I thought you bought that stained glass that had that red glow. Guess you made it yourself. So, anyways, talking about Christmas. Oh, before that, remember the photos that we bought at the auction for the art gallery? Well, we got them framed, and the guy did a wonderful job on them. We didn't go very elaborate on the frames. We wanted something very simple, not ornate, black, and he did a really nice job, and he was cheap. Two of those photos that we had done, and they are, one's what? How big's one? 15 by 15?
One's 15 by 15, the other's 23 by 23.
Yeah. It cost us, in total, $200.
And that included putting
Glass.
a piece of glass in front, too.
And he finished the back with with paper on the back and with a hanger on them. Very, very well.
Yeah.
This is what he does. He works out of his home. He was recommended by the art gallery to us, and I would definitely go and take stuff back to him again because he really knows what he's doing and he's reasonable. Like if we had taken those to Michael's, it would cost double, minimum, and that's what they're every day 60% off. Yeah, right. So they turned out nice. One we hung up today. I can't show it to you because it's around the corner on the wall. And the other one won't go up until after Christmas because where it's going, there's a Christmas wreath up there right now. What else is being said here? Oh, Jody says, I challenged Walter to chug it and get another. Did Walter get a haircut? Looks great. Yes, number 2 was getting a little long, so they trimmed that one.
I told him to take more off. The last time he didn't take enough off the top. So,
Oh,
I
really?
mean, there's not much there. But I said to him, don't be afraid to cut it up because I said, I already know I don't have much there.
Yeah, I think Jody's trying to get you bombed. But yeah, it wouldn't be bad to have another one. You can show them, you can mix it here and show them how we mix it.
I suppose.
Whatever. And leave the gummies, though, in there because they're soaking up really well. Mel says, hey, boys, and everyone else, what would be your best Christmas gift? Well, maybe if I could.
A new husband.
I was going to say, Walter's almost 60, so maybe I could trade him in for a couple of 30-year-olds. That might be fun. Yeah, I'm not even going to say. Maybe I'm serious. Maybe I'm not serious about that.
Oh, no, I'm not mixing it there. So
What?
it takes this
Okay,
stuff,
show.
sourpuss apple, sourpuss raspberry.
They're pretty colors, aren't they? Christmas colors. Green and red.
That
Melon liqueur
and vodka.
and vodka. And everything goes good with vodka. In fact, I have to tell you this story. It reminded me. And it comes in, I was going to talk about some Christmas traditions and things. Well, one of my traditions used to be when I was working as a teacher. Every year at Christmas time, I would have my whole department over here just before the Christmas holidays for a department party. And there'd be food and booze and stuff like that. And one of the things that I always made sure of, what are you doing?
I just spilled it.
Oh, good shot. Okay, maybe he shouldn't have another one, Jody. He's already spilling them. One of the things that I always used to make was a punch. My mother has this really great recipe for a punch. I think it took a can of frozen lemonade, concentrated lemonade. There was, I don't know if there was ginger ale in it. I think it was ginger ale. There was something else. A couple of other, I think there was pineapple juice, something else. Very, very nice, very tasty punch. And you put vodka in it as well. Well, one of the teachers I was working with at the time, she had actually taught me. My first teaching job, my first 11 years of teaching, I taught at the high school I graduated from. And I was the first new teacher that they'd hired in the department. But this is now, we're talking 1981 when I started teaching. I was the first new teacher hired in the department in many, many years. Because in those days, the teaching jobs weren't, there was, I don't know, I can't even remember. It was hard to get a teaching job, and ironically, I ended up in my old high school. Anyways, a teacher who taught me English in grade 9, grade 11, and grade 13. And she was scary, but she was really good. But she was scary. And she seemed to me, when I was in grade 9, like she was already old enough to be my grandmother. She, in reality, was not, but from, a 14-year-old kid's point of view, anybody over the age of 19 was old, right? So, in fact, she was so old school that when we walked into her classroom, you had to stand beside your desk until she came back into the room. She'd wait for you out in the hall, and then she'd come in, she'd close the door, she'd walk up, and she was very prim, she was very proper, and she'd look at the class and she goes, "Class, you may be seated. Now, heaven help you if you tried to be a rebel and walk in before she told you you could sit down and sat down at your seat. She would kill you." This was this little old lady, what seemed like a little old lady to me at the time, who was very proper, she had sort of an English background, but not really. She just reminded you of that. She didn't have an accent or anything, I don't think. I think she actually was born in England. But her family came to Canada when she was a little girl, back in probably 1750 or something, it seemed to me, at the time. And she would just bellow. She only usually did that once a semester, but when she yelled, you crapped your pants, and you looked straight ahead, and you just shivered in your boots. And she was also an extremely organized lady. She wouldn't let anybody sit in the front row of desks. She kept those vacant because she would lay out all of her handouts and everything she was going to give for that class. It was all laid out on those desks, and she had paper clips on everything. And when she handed out things, she would count off a number and give them to the first person in each row to pass back to everybody else. And if someone was missing that day from class, she would pull up a set of the handouts, put a paper clip on them, take a piece of paper, write their name on it, put it on the paper clip, and the next day when you came to class, if you'd been away, she would hand that to you. I used her method. That's one of the things I learned from her when I became a teacher. I did exactly the same thing. And I had my kids trained so they knew that The onus was not on me to catch them up. If they'd been away, they came, they saw me and would say, "What did I miss from class yesterday, sir?" And I would hand them the package of stuff. So I learned that from her. But I had her in grade 9, grade 11, grade 13. When I started teaching there, my very first party that I had with the department, and I lived in an apartment building. I lived in the basement apartment of a I don't know what you call it, triplex kind of a building that went up and down. Not
Three
What is that?
apartments,
three
one on
apartments
top
up.
of each other.
I lived in the basement apartment. I was only 2 blocks from the school. Everything worked out really well that year for those kind of things. So I had everybody over after school on the last day for this party. I made food and everything, and I made this punch. Well, her name was Hester. She comes in, and I was really nervous about Hester coming to my place for the first time, because this was a lady I respected and was half afraid of as well. And it took me several years teaching with her before I could call her Hester and not by her surname. In fact, it was she that said, "Now that we are working," and this is how she would talk, "Stephen, now that we are working together, we are colleagues. So you've all grown up. You're not in my class anymore. I think you have deserved the right to call me by my first name." Great honor, I thought. It still took me a while, because I'd immediately go say her last name, and then, Hester. Anyways, she's out in the kitchen, and I figured she was a teetotaler. I didn't figure she drank. So anyways, I did warn everybody, I said, the punch is spiked. And if you know an English department, or with schools I've worked in, English teachers, any teachers, we drink like, booze runs through us like a sieve.
And swear really bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, English teachers are the worst. The only thing is, I'll have to say in our defense, as English teachers, we may swear like crazy, but it's always in a complete sentence. Always in a complete sentence. So when you tell somebody why don't you just, or when you say F off, we know that's an imperative sentence, and you is understood. And if you don't get what I just said, obviously you didn't do well in English grammar. And I'm not going to explain it any further than that. Okay? Because it would take too long. Anyways, she's dipping up the punch. She's coming for the second glass of the punch. It's just, this punch is wonderful. What, may I ask, what's in it? And I said to her, well, it's my mother's recipe. And I said, it's got this in it, and this in it, and some of this in it, and some of this in it. And of course, it's got a 26er of vodka. And she's dipping it up. She doesn't bat an eye at that. She goes, well, you know, I have always found that vodka makes a lovely base. It was that moment then in time that I realized that I had entered the adult world, and that Hester was a totally different person from the persona that I saw her as when she was teaching me. And she was a scream and a half. And another thing, while I'm talking about Hester stories, this lady's now up in her upper 90s, and haven't seen her in a long time. Used to send a Christmas card to her every year, and used to get one. And her husband was a teacher too. He passed away a few years ago. And she's one of those people that in my life that influenced me into becoming an English teacher as well. Anyways, we used to do a tacky gift exchange. And it was supposed to be really tacky, could borderline on gross. Well, actually, they usually stepped over the line of gross and went right to gross. And it was like a white elephant kind of thing, if you know what that is, in exchange. And I always had a prize for the best tacky gift. Well, one year, you weren't supposed to identify what gift you brought either when you...
Wasn't part of it that you had to guess who brought the gift?
Yeah, part of it was to guess who brought it in. Well, and what was the best gift? Well, the best gift that year happened to be this book. And it was a book, and it was called, on the title of the book, it said, How to Raise a Dog. How to Raise a Dog. Then you open up the book, and this great big wiener popped out at you. I mean, it looked like a sausage kind of a thing, wiener. But, it had, other ramifications there. It popped right up into your face in this. It was hilarious. We were on the floor laughing. And of course, that got voted as the best tacky gift of the year. But then we had to guess who brought it. It had to be, some people thought it was probably me. Others thought this, that. Couldn't figure it out. Finally, it had to be revealed. It was Hester. Hester brought this. And it was hilarious. And the look on her face was she was always very prim and proper. It's just, well, I found that at a quaint little market on one of our trips in the summer, and I thought of the tacky gift exchange and thought that might just be very appropriate. That's how she talked. Well, she won the prize. It was a bottle of booze, so she went home happy with that. But just to scream, that used to be a tradition for me. Every year I would do this with my department and when I became a department head and things like that. And it was just sort of my way of thanking people for, what they had done in the past semester and whatnot. I miss those days. They were fun. They were a lot of work, too. And actually, in the early years, they were quite expensive. And I didn't have a lot of money to spend on those kind of things. But, looking back on it, it was well worth it. That's sticky.
Yeah.
So that was one Christmas tradition. What other Christmas traditions? Well, your family, what did the Christmas like? We're going over to your sister's tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, what happened was, like I think I told you that last time, was I was the young one in the family, so I had a sister that was 12 years older than me and another sister that was 7 years older than me. And when I was 8, my oldest sister married. So at that time, because she had to go to her in-laws' place on Christmas Day, she decided that we should all open our presents on Christmas Eve. So that kind of stuck afterwards.
Oh, I thought that was more something that Dutch people did.
No, Dutch people actually open their presents on December 4th, Sinterklaas Day.
Sinterklaas Day?
Yeah, it's not actually Christmas Day.
Oh,
But my parents never did that. My parents always waited till the 25th. When we were little kids, it was 25th. But then my sister seemed to control what went on in my family, so she decided one year, it would be novel to open presents on Christmas Eve, and that's how we started doing that.
See, in my family,
And so my sister Jessie, who's the younger of the two sisters, have always done it that way in her family.
so we're going over there tomorrow night for dinner, and our niece and nephew and niece-in-law will be there and we are great uncles. Well, we know we're great, but I mean, we are great uncles to two little girls that haven't got a clue who the heck we are.
Yeah.
Which is
Anyway,
your nephew's kid.
it's not because of that they won't let us be around them. It's just that I don't see my nephew very often, and
Well, he doesn't live.
he
doesn't
they
live
don't
that
live
far away,
Well, he
but-
lives about an hour away.
Yeah.
So, but we don't really see them that often, and my sister sees them a lot because she gets stuck babysitting every once in a while. But I haven't seen my sister for a while yet either.
No.
Yet I don't live far from her, but I mean,
No, we live in the same town as her.
I call her every once in a while and see how things are.
So, anyways, that's the tradition. Now, my family, I remember as a kid, other kids would say that they were allowed to open one Christmas present on Christmas Eve. And I mentioned that, I think, to my mother once when I was a kid. And my mother said, no, we're not doing that. It's on Christmas Day. But the reason is because my parents got really into our Christmas, the Santa Claus gifts. And I think I said this before. They'd set it all up under the tree like a toy store or whatever. And it was a big
Your parents
production.
were younger than my parents were.
Well, true.
My parents were older when they had me. And so
Which explains a lot, yeah.
so by that time they didn't want to get up early on Christmas Day. So.
But that was one of our other traditions too. The 5 o'clock in the morning. My brother and I shared a bedroom. My sister had her own. But my sister was 8 years younger than me. And so when there was just my brother and I around, and there was just me, I go, is it time to get up yet? My father go, no, still early, go back to bed, go to sleep. Because we weren't allowed to get out of bed and go down before my father had gone down, lit up the Christmas tree, and did his same thing he said every year. He came out, might as well go back to bed, Santa didn't come. What a horrible man. But for kids. Of course, we knew he was lying. And that just got us more excited about it. It was one we didn't break our necks going down the stairs in that house that my parents lived in, because those steps went like pretty much straight up and down, and we just charged down there. But then as I got older, my brother, he was 4 years younger than me, I'd get him to do it so I wouldn't get yelled at. And then when he got older, we get my sister to do it because they wouldn't yell at her because she was the only girl, right? And that's just cute. That's just so damn cute. Really. Yeah. She got away with a lot of things, actually. Still does. But yeah, that was our traditions. And then, of course, in those days, I had all my grandparents were still alive. Well, not my grandfather Barnum, because he died when I was 2. But we would have basically 3 Christmases in one day. We would have our Christmas in the morning as a family, which, my mother would do breakfast and the whole bit. Then we'd get ready, we'd pack up the car, and we would drive to where my family came from, which was about an hour and a half's drive from where we were living. And we would go and we would have Christmas lunch at my mother's place, my grandmother's place. And she would have a huge Christmas dinner, turkey, everything, the whole bit. And we'd do the gifts and all that stuff. And we'd be there from about noon until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we would travel to my other grandmother's, which was only lived about 5 blocks away from my other grandmother. And we'd go there for Christmas dinner again and gifts. We were so sick of turkey. And this is what we would do every year. Now, when we were little kids, it was exciting because, your grandparents, the whole bit. As we got older, once we got actually to the age where we were all pretty much teenagers before my grandparents passed away, or early teens, or for me, early teens, I guess, it got kind of ridiculous that both my grandmothers were doing Christmas dinners on one day. So my grandmother Bland, where we would be staying because she had a bigger house, kind of a deal, she'd invite my grandmother Barnum, my mother's mother, over for Christmas dinner. So we had to put it down to like one Christmas dinner. But my 2 grandmothers, I understood why it went like that for years where we did 2 separate ones. I mean, as an adult, I understand it now. I did not understand it as a kid. My grandparents, 2 grandmothers were both polar opposites. My one grandmother, my mother's mother, was very prim, very proper. You had to do it this way, you had to do it that way. My grandmother Bland, not so prim and proper, and a whole lot more fun. She was my favorite grandmother. I mean, are you supposed to have favorites? Yeah, I did. My grandmother Bland.
I sort of had favorites.
I mean, I liked my grandmother Barnum too, but it was just a whole different ball game. And my grandmother Bland was just out there. She was. That's where I get my experimentation and my impulsiveness and all the other stuff.
See, it was different for me because my family immigrated to Canada in 1954, my parents, and there was no other family in Canada. So everything that we did was contained at home. We didn't have to go to another place for dinner or anything like that. And my grandparents were over in Holland. I only saw my grandparents a couple of times during my lifetime. And that's basically because of the distance. And in those days, people didn't fly around the earth as often as they do now. And so it was really special when I got to see my grandparents or see my cousins or something like that. It was a really special treat for me because I only saw them a couple of times in my lifetime. And even making phone calls in those days, making a phone call wasn't so easy. So to make a phone call to Europe in those days was, when I was younger, even when I was in my teens, my parents would have to phone the overseas operator in Montreal. Montreal would phone the overseas operator in the Netherlands, where my parents are from. So we'd have to wait for a connection to be made. Then they would call us back. We were on standby. Call us back. And for the final connection, and it could take an hour for you to get connected to your grandparents. And my grandparents at one point in time didn't have a phone, so that didn't help. And
Well, then I guess you were
no,
waiting a long
so
time.
so when they got a phone, it was a long ordeal to get connected. You'd talk for 5 or 10 minutes, and people would hand the phone across, talk for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they'd say, okay, they'd say goodbye, and then my dad would be freaking out because the phone bill would be $75 or something.
Holy crap. Yep, well, we've come a long way since then. So let's just take a look here and see what people are saying. Good stories. Yeah, it just turned to Sunday and Christmas is here. That's for Mel, of course, because she's in Australia. Jody says, do you get stocking stuffers for each other? Perhaps you could sew Christmas stockings. Damn, I didn't even think of that. I could have done
Is
stockings.
Mel from Australia, or
Yeah.
is she in
Oh, no, she's Finland. She's Finland. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
yeah, they're all later at night now.
Yeah, that's right. No, we did. We don't really bother much with Christmas presents anymore.
Well, I know when I grew up, I knew tradition here was to do Christmas stockings and stuff. My parents really never got into that. It was Christmas gifts and that's it.
Actually, Christmas stockings were sometimes the best things because there'd be little things, but we all had our stockings. And when we had a cat, when I was growing up as a kid, Scamp, he had his own little sock too. And of course, we always knew it was going to be Santa would leave in Scamp's sock. It would be a little lump of cheese because that cat was just crazy for cheese. But there would always be something in the sock, like there'd be some kind of candy, like some chocolate or something, and I don't know, sometimes underwear.
I don't think my parents ever did that because we never had a fireplace.
Well, we didn't have a fireplace.
I know, but
we used to hang it on the bar. Okay, that makes my family sound like they were a bunch of lushes. But no, they had a bar in their rec room, and the tree went it's hard to describe it. I can picture it in my head, but I can't get you in my head.
My parents would give you another little gift that had candy and stuff in it. So instead of stockings, I think my mother just couldn't be bothered.
And let's see what else says.
I mean, I didn't feel like I missed out on it. I don't care.
Well, isn't it the Dutch tradition that if you've been bad, you get a lump of coal in your sock?
Yeah,
isn't that from Black Pete or something?
Yeah,
they call
I
him?
suppose
that's
so.
Probably not politically correct.
No, actually, there was a big controversy in Holland.
There was, really?
There was a big controversy in Holland about that, and I'm not sure exactly how it was resolved because when we went to Christmas parties, and my parents belonged to a Dutch Canadian club, and as a kid we'd go Christmas party, and Holland tradition was that they'd have Sinterklaas, right, with his big hat and staff and the whole bit. And then he had his two sidekicks, and his two sidekicks were Black Pete. And I think there was a Black Pete and something else, I don't know. And what it usually was a white guy with blackface makeup on.
Okay, not politically correct today.
I guess when politically correct and everything, there was a big controversy about it in Holland. But then I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think I heard that what they did was they isolated it, that it was tradition to do this. So I don't know if they actually got away with it or.
Well, you see, I could see in Holland them saying, look, we've done it for 1,000 years, we're not changing it now. In this country, we are not even allowed to say Merry Christmas without cringing because it could be Happy Hanukkah, it could be
actually, I find
Happy Kwanzaa, I don't know.
What's interesting is I worked in a very, very multicultural environment in the company I worked for. We had Muslims, we had Jewish people, we had East Indian people, Hindu people, people from all different religions working there, and almost every single one of them celebrated some form of Christmas, because they often said Merry Christmas. I said, well, you're not really Christian. I said, so do you celebrate Christmas? What do you do? He says, oh yeah, we still put up, we still do Christmas, and we do our other stuff as well.
Christmas is actually, everybody thinks it originated with the whole Christian faith and that kind of thing. The Christian faith stole Christmas, and they didn't call it Christmas. It's a pagan holiday. It's the winter solstice, or whatever they call it. It was celebrated by the pagans. The Christmas tree is a pagan image. It's talking about the dormancy of life in winter, things going to sleep to rejuvenate for the spring and stuff like that. And then for some reason, Christians well, not for some reason, we know why, if, you know, Christian thing, and I don't want to step on anybody's religion here about it, but every major religion in the world celebrates a form of what we would call, in our culture, Christmas. And it all comes from a tradition that stems back before organized religion. But organized religion sort of took it over, and it started to become part of their
Yeah, so like
whatever tradition.
So everybody at work, let me know. One point in time, it was Happy Holidays at work, but now everybody just sort of says Merry Christmas to you. So
I'm not going to stop saying Merry Christmas to somebody for whatever, because, and okay, so I come from the tradition where Merry Christmas is okay. Happy Kwanzaa, no problem. You know, Happy Hanukkah, no problem. But just because I say Merry Christmas, and if they say Happy Hanukkah, I don't take offense because they've turned around and they've said Happy Hanukkah or whatever out of it.
if somebody were to say that, if I said Merry Christmas to somebody and somebody would say Happy Hanukkah back to me, then I may respond by Happy Hanukkah back.
Yeah, back.
So
I mean, it's, why do we get our knickers all in the knot over it? Well, that goes with my vlog. I talked about being politically correct. But let's see what people are writing here. Nairi says, we used to open one small present on Christmas Eve. My mom loved Christmas. Now our boys are grown. It's a pretty laid back day for us. We're usually home for Christmas. And Nita says, a funny Christmas story about our family is when my youngest son, Josh, went to use the bathroom at my parents'. He discovered my dad's shaving cream in a can. We had just arrived back home, and my dad is yelling, Josh had sprayed the whole can of shaving cream all over Dad's bathroom. Well, that might do it. And Nairi is, I think, left. I haven't looked at this amount. So bye, Nairi, if you're still here. If not, have a great Christmas. We'll talk to you later. Great stories, Jody says. Walter, how old were your folks when you were born? Mine were 38.
my mom was 36 and my dad was 38.
Yep, there you go. And Mel says, it's wonderful to hear all the funny Christmas stories. Bev says, we did not get candy in our stockings. We would get small presents, fruit and nuts. And I guess at one point in time, my mother used to talk about, we used to get an orange. Okay. I guess because in those days, oranges were, well, my mother was born in 1940. So during the Second World War, probably things like that were probably not as easy to get. But I do know, like you read stories from Victorian England and things like that, that was a biggie to get an orange in your stocking or a tangerine.
Yeah, I remember my mother said she got nuts and stuff like that in her stocking because that was sort of a real treat. So.
And Anita says, this became a favorite Christmas story in my family about the shaving cream. Last year was my dad's last Christmas, and this year we were lighting a special candle before dinner in his memory. Oh, that's nice. And, okay, people, I'm sorry about your fathers. Mine passed away 3 years ago, too, but I'm not bringing this conversation down, okay? Bev says, I have a friend that when I met her, I did not know she was Jewish. I told her Merry Christmas, and she smiled and said Happy Hanukkah, and I smiled back and said Happy Hanukkah to you. Yeah, no biggie. It's not a biggie. So what? Actually, I think the Jewish people sometimes have it the best because they have Hanukkah, and a lot of them will celebrate Christmas in a while, too, just for more gifts. Whatever. And Catherine says fruit and nuts were expensive. Yeah, and they were a real treat. Yeah, that's true. This is simple pleasures. And now, you know, you get to a certain age where, what are you going to buy people? We don't do gifts anymore with our family. I buy some stuff for my mom, just because I do. So I got her some. Well, we got her a table that I think I already talked about in another video that, you know, swings out because she sits a lot on her couch watching TV and she'll eat there. So this is a thing that just swings in, swings out, and is also designed so it can help her get up out of the couch. And that seems to be a hit with her. But I also got her a couple of other things. I got her a little not flannel, kind of a, what do they call it, polar fleece, cape-like thing, because she's always cold. So I figured this is something, you know, she can just throw over her shoulders down, you know, when she's sitting there watching TV and whatnot. And I got her some socks that have little rubber things on the bottom of them so she won't slip on the floor. She already has some of those, but she really liked those, so I thought I'd get her some more. And I think my sister bought her some pants or something as well. Whatever. I leave that to my sister to buy that kind of stuff because I really don't know what in women's clothing. I don't know.
You don't want to buy your mom underwear, right?
Oh God, no. Oh, and as I said to
Bad
my
enough that I did for mine.
oh yeah, like, do you think this bed sheet will fit? I don't know. Well, that's not nice. Anyway,
And I
so
only did because I had a sister who refused to buy her anything because I had power of attorney. So I went and bought her underwear.
so it was fun when we had the kitty though. When we had Cleo, our little precious baby, she's been gone 2 years now. We'd buy for Cleo. She was our child. But we wouldn't tell each other what we bought her because it was more of a surprise for us. And we'd wrap
And
it
my
up.
sister bought her stuff.
Yeah, your sister did too. Of course, if anything had catnip in it, and this cat would go under the tree and she'd be like pawing at it. She loved the Christmas tree. All cats do. She'd sit where we used to keep the Christmas tree at one point in time. She'd sit on, it was near a couch, so she could sit on the arm of the couch and she'd go. And that's why we stopped glass ornaments. They were all plastic. And we would still find ornaments in June that she had knocked somewhere underneath a couch or something that we hadn't found in all bit. I miss Kitty.
Yeah.
My little baby for Christmas. Yes. Everybody should have a kitty for Christmas. They're delicious. Okay, so let's say, what's eating Walter, eh?
Yeah, well, I had to think about this today. And the only thing that I could really think of today, and I think it's sort of like what happened a couple of days ago when I went to a restaurant. And a group of us from Stained Glass get together every once in a while, the people that I used to do stained glass with. We get together and we have dinner out somewhere. And there's usually about at least 4 of us that go, and sometimes up to 6 or 7 show up, depending on when people can schedule on that. Well, one particular night, a couple of months ago, we went out and to a restaurant, and there was 4 of us. It was 2 women, 2 men, and including me, right? And so it came to the time to get the bill. Normally, we ask for separate checks, but we said we were done. We just wanted the bill, and the waitress never asked us about separate checks or if it's one bill or whatever. And so she assumed that I was sitting next to one woman, Trish. She assumed that me and Trish were together, and she assumed that the other guy, Jeff, was with Julie, which was on the other side of the table. And so she brought out 2 checks and plunked them down between us, right? And we looked at it and we all started having a hoot because none of us are together with each other. We're all separate. So we had to call her back over and explain, like, we want separate checks. We're not together, right? What made you think that we were together, right? So, and that was kind of stupid because actually a lot of waitresses will ask, are you 2 together or on a bill, or are you separate?
They'll make arrangements,
right?
for
Or
the
they make
check.
arrangements, but this one never did. She never said anything. And then the funny thing is, the next time we went, so we started making jokes about who's with who, and I started calling Trish my wife, and the next time we went out, and ironically, we went to this restaurant, which was an Indian restaurant called Spicy Affairs. And we ended up at that restaurant. But at that night, we had about 6 people out that night. And of course, there was like not an immediate pairing. But I was sitting next to Trish again, and Jeff was sitting next to Julie again. But then we had a 5th person. So she came back out for the bill, and she goes, so I assume, she says, you 2 are together, and you 2 are together, and then there's one separate bill. And we're going, no, we're all separate bills, because none of us are together with the other person. And so it's annoying when waitresses make assumptions on what your relationships are.
Yeah, that's true. And okay, it's an honest mistake. However, in this day and age, and this goes back to what I was talking about there a week or so ago about being politically correct and all that kind of stuff. In this day and age of being politically correct, people in the service industry need to be trained to be sensitive to these issues. Now, they're not doing it not to be sensitive. I mean, really, I mean, if they don't live it, they're just doing something and it's not that big a deal. But I have noticed, like they used to call on the phone and go, "Can I speak to the lady of the house?" Hello, yes, speaking. Oh. And then, well, actually, there was one I got a call last week. Guy was doing a survey about health issues or something. This said, do you have a few minutes to do this kind of thing? I said, sure, fine. And so he's asked me different things about general health and depression, and I don't know, it was kind of a depressing little survey. But at one point, for his demographics, he asked me, he says, of course, you're male. And I went, yes. And he said, okay, which category, which group do you fit into? And he'd list these off. And one was male, female, transgender, bisexual, lesbian, homosexual, and I said, you mean gay? And I got a pause, and because he didn't have gay on his list. He goes, well, maybe he did, because he turned and said, he says, I'm sorry. He says, I should have said homosexual/gay. I said, the only reason I bring it up to you, I said, and I know you don't design this, you're just making a phone call, but you might want to let your employers know about this, is we find the word homosexual offensive. And I said I could get into a long diatribe here on why we find it this way, but I said we prefer the term gay. Because homosexual has a negative connotation because of its history in our society. So, you didn't put in a category for women who are homosexual, you called them lesbian. Well, we're gay. Okay, I said, he says, oh, I'm so sorry, sir, I apologize, and no. Then I felt kind of bad because, I wasn't ranting on him or anything like that. I just thought it was an opportunity, as we used to call it in school, an educational moment, or, yeah, is that what we called it? Something like that, learning moment, there's a teachable moment, something like that. Anyways, about that kind of thing. But, so I can see why people make certain assumptions, but in this day and age, they're getting better because they're being trained in sensitivity about what the proper terms are. Good God.
Well, actually, I had it the other day when I was talking to the beneficiary, the benefits group for my current benefits.
No, do they want your wife's name?
Well, yeah, no, it was, I was saying my spouse's wasn't on the listing yet, right? You didn't show up yet on there for beneficiary, right? And so I phoned them up about it, and they said, okay, my name's Walter. And then they said, I said, my spouse isn't. I said, my spouse is not on there yet. And she turned around and said, and can you tell me your wife's name? And I said, Stephen Bland. And she didn't flinch. She just took it. Because I think she probably thought, oops.
Yeah, she probably caught herself at that point. What she should have said, and your spouse's name with it and all. But I don't get really offended by that because I know it's going to take time.
80% of the people, or probably 95% of the people are probably saying wife, but
yeah, so what? But anyways, what I do get not offended by, but a little uptight about is, so back to our anniversary. So I went to buy a card, okay? An anniversary card. First of all, I usually buy all my cards at the dollar store. And I checked there. But because I do really resent spending $5 to $6 on a bloody card that's probably going to end up in the garbage, okay? Yes, I know people are saying, you could have made him one. Yeah, I could have, but I didn't because I'm really not a card maker. I can make them. They're not something I enjoy making usually with it. Because you know why I don't enjoy making cards? Because it's a whole lot of time, a whole lot of work for a card that you are proud of. You really don't want to give it away, but the whole point of making a card is to give it away. But then you got to be very selective about the people you give it to because you don't want to give it to somebody that's going to go, oh, isn't that lovely? Display it for a couple of days on a table and out it goes into the recycling bin kind of a deal. So I usually buy my cards at the dollar store. because who cares at that point? But I couldn't find anything. So I went to a Hallmark store, Hallmark Cards, where I know I'm going to spend an arm and a leg for a bloody card. And I went to the anniversary card section. Okay, people, there needs to be a line in the general card world, because there are stores where you can find cards that are meant for same-sex people. But in the general mall stores, they're not there, and so you don't find much of a selection. So this is what I got, Walter, to my husband. And it's a little bit sentimental inside and sticky, but it's as close as I could get to something that I felt was close to appropriate. And I spent a whole $4.69 plus tax on this. I was waiting for the woman at the front to look at me and say, you know, what said to my husband, but she never flinched.
No, she probably figured you were buying it for your mother.
Yeah, maybe. Or she figured you're just gay, fag, you're going to buy a card. But then Walter gets me a card, and he did get it at the dollar store. And it says, "Happy anniversary to my husband," but it's got a man and a woman sitting on top of an hourglass.
I should have drew a mustache on her.
And that would make it better. Really, would that make it better? I mean, it's a good thing I have a sense of humor on that. Not that this really bothered me. It's the thought that
I just figured you didn't fork out the money to go to anywhere other than a dollar store. So
it's really nice though. But this one actually says $3.89. So
yeah,
if you didn't tell somebody,
so
it was.
I went to the dollar store because I figured there's no hope in hell that you would have gone to a regular store.
Really, I would, and I did. So whatever. But what I think there should be a whole line of cards out there in the regular card stores for people of the same sex. Because we can legally get married. Why not? There's a whole industry out there. And as I said, only on stores that are really geared towards the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, if you're going downtown Toronto.
Downtown Toronto, you can find them.
You can find them, but we don't live downtown Toronto.
No, so, really, why not? Maybe I should design some. I don't know. Let's just see what people are saying. Way behind here. Okay, back to animals are fun at Christmas. We have cats, Anita says. And Bev says, my cats do not climb the tree, but they love to lie under the tree. Yeah, Cleo used to like that too. It's like she's in the bushes hiding in behind the gifts. And we go looking for her, and then you see, where are you? This head would sort of come up out behind the gifts and go, oh yeah, you're under the tree. And Catherine says, that's why I don't have a tree. I've got 3 beautiful cats. And Mel says, I have a dog and a cat, and that's why I don't have Christmas tree inside anymore. And Sandy says, I used to tie a length of fishing line to the top of the tree and thumbtack it to the ceiling. It had to be strong line, but it worked. No more crashes in the middle of the night. Yeah, did Cleo ever pull down her tree?
No, she never did.
She never really did, but it was a fake tree anyways, and it didn't have much of her to get her little claws on. But we'd hear in the night, she'd knock the decorations off and go chasing them. Hi, Brenda. Brenda made it. Mel says, I have all my glass ornaments hanging in a chandelier with fishing line, but never think about doing same with tree. And Cindy's gone. Bye-bye. We probably missed it when she left. And Catherine says, made my daughter a birthday card, December the 15th. Made her feel guilty because she didn't gush over all my effort. I spent hours working on this. In fact, I didn't eat for 3 days. I'm so parched. You should appreciate the card, you little whatever. And did I tell you the name of the drink? Bitch slap. I keep pouring it on myself, and they're sticky as heck. Okay, so that's what was pissing Walter off this week. What are we watching on TV very quickly, because we're getting near the end of our time. Something that is on Netflix. Loving Netflix. Gotta love it. And we just got Crave TV. And for those of you who aren't Canadian, that's a Canadian station. It's a paid one. It's like Netflix.
Yeah, we get basic cable service for on.
So basic that we have one channel and it's a guy drawing on a chalkboard.
Yeah. And just so that we get the news stations and stuff like that. And we used to have the full package before, but now we went to very basic because we figured half the time we don't watch any of the other stations. So I got a call from Bell the other day, and they are offering us the premium movie station and Crave TV for two and a half months or something like this
Till
for free,
March.
right? So till March, and obviously they'll try and get us to buy.
Then they go, how are you enjoying your free preview of these stations? Now, for this amount of money, you could just get that all the things trying to hook you in. It's
We
not gonna hook
used to
us in, we
get
still
the
have it.
movie station years ago when we had the full package on stuff, and half the time we never ended up watching it because most of the stuff is so old on there that we never ended up watching it. So I looked again on it after getting the free package, and they're still way behind on their movies, even worse than it used to be.
But the one thing is, on Christmas Day, there is a show. It is a Canadian show. It's called Letterkenny. You have to have a weird sense of humor, kind of like my sense of humor, to get it. It is very Canadian in its humor and the whole bit. So nobody else would probably ever get it. In fact, half of Canada probably doesn't get it either. But I love that show. And
it's only on Crave TV.
It's only on Crave TV. And I even tried to do my little tricks in downloading things and whatnot.
Yeah,
and
but you
still
couldn't
didn't
get it because they hadn't released season 4 yet.
No, I guess not. I didn't realize it hadn't been released yet because they made it sound like it had been. But anyways, so we got that. But what we've been watching on Netflix is this one is dubbed. It's Italian. It's called Suburra. Subura, and it's very intriguing. It takes a couple of episodes to get into it, but we just binge watched it. We watched, I don't know how many episodes of it last night to finish it. We watched about 4 or 5 episodes to get it to the end. And it's violent. It's about gangs, mafiosa kind of gangs, kind of a thing in Italy, and the church is involved, the Vatican, and all these other things. And it gets fairly complicated, but it's really quite good. Of course, the second season, who knows when that'll come out, and by then I'll have forgotten most of it. And The Crown. The Crown is about Queen Elizabeth. They've in the second season now on Netflix. It's really good. It's really good. Walter hasn't been watching it, but I have been. And I really like it. We saw a movie on Netflix about Churchill. Churchill during D-Day kind of a thing.
We saw that on the other box.
Oh, did we see it on the Amazon? We have so many boxes. It's hard to... You wouldn't believe the remote controls we've got. There's like a box of remote controls. You just go try to figure out what you're going to watch tonight.
And we even have one that supposedly controls everything, but lately it seems to be
hasn't
malfunctioning.
been working the way we want it to. But it's actually not a bad movie, Churchill. And then on YouTube, okay, this guy is an Irish guy, lives in England. He's weird. Will not be everybody's cup of tea. He's gay, very gay. And his name is, and I don't think I can pronounce it right, it's Rayadh, Rayadh, and he goes by that plus the initial K.
Rayadh or something.
Rayadh. He's funny. He's weird. Last week I told you about BBC Three documentaries on LGBT in England. He did that. He's a journalist as well. He's young. He's only about 23 years old. But his regular station, he does really weird things. For example, if you've ever wondered, and I don't know why you would wonder, what it would be like to put on 100 layers in one sitting of spray tan, he does it. It's actually kind of disgusting. It looks like a mud bath with a little diarrhea mixed into it. Okay, I think I'm going to make myself sick with this. But anyways, if you want something a little different, you might like it, you might not like it, whatever. I just put it out there. So, what's people are saying here, and then we're going to be finishing up here. Are you interested in the new movie that Netflix put out called Bright?
I didn't see that.
No, but I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. We'll have to look that one up. And Jody says, yes, I just started The Crown, really enjoying it. And Mel says, The Crown is absolutely great, just finished the second season. Don't tell me, don't be a spoiler, okay? Haven't finished it yet. And Brenda says, I've been watching Bong Appetit on Netflix. It's a cooking show using cannabis. Have you seen it? You should check it out. Nope. Have not seen it. Writing it down. Going to check it out.
Now, it could be we get Canadian Netflix, and
Oh, it may not
there's
be
a lot of
available.
things that aren't available in Canadian Netflix.
And Bright movie. Okay, write those two things down to look up.
Technically, if we get a VPN for American, an American IP address, we can fool it to think we're American. But we've never really done that, so.
No. But anyways, so it's time to finish up here. We're over our usual time here a little bit, but just wanted to bring up one thing. Our next live would actually coincide with New Year's Eve. So we're not sure whether or not we should do a special New Year's Eve edition of Walter and Stephen Live. I can tell you this, it's not going to go on for 3 hours until midnight or something like that, because I'll be asleep by then. So, just putting it out there that we might do it on New Year's Eve, because we have no life, and we're not going to any fabulous parties.
Last year we were at the Sydney Opera House New Year's Eve, but we're not going this year.
And you really can't beat that. So anyways, it may be on New Year's Eve, it may be the night before. We don't know. I will try to put up a teaser like I did today about when we're doing stuff and everything. But if you can join us, if we do it then, great. If you have great other plans, that's okay. We won't take offense, because really, isn't it just sad watching a YouTube video of two gay guys in Canada on New Year's Eve? Really? Get a life. But whatnot. So, Catherine says, yes, please do that. I don't have a life either. Beth says, what is the saying you're calling a life?
Get a life.
Okay, there must have been get a life? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure what you meant, Bev.
We don't have a life?
Well, obviously.
It's a saying. She doesn't understand that saying.
What?
We don't have a life.
No, I think you're reading in too much of it. I think spell checker took you over,
Oh.
but I'm not sure. Anyways, Bev, you might be able to clear us up on that. But anyways, dinner tonight, I'm making a big pan of nachos.
Low fat.
Yeah, well, we had poutine for lunch, so what the heck with that. Oh,
And we never have poutine.
No, don't know if I'm going to have it again.
No, I don't think so either.
Really, well, it's not bad, but it's
It was
just
okay. It was a little heavy.
My heart's still palpitating. I mean, it's just hardening my arteries as we speak. Thing. Oh, but what is the thing you're calling a life? Oh, this existence. Well,
You know, we get, there's a saying, get a life. Like, it's sort of,
yeah, get a life.
it's a saying. It's sort of,
I don't think that's what she's asking.
oh, I don't know.
I don't know. You're just reading too much into things, but
Okay,
and
whatever.
you do anyways. Anyways, people. So we hope that you have a really nice Christmas wherever you are and whatever you're doing and whatnot. Hope it's a safe one. It's fun.
Drive carefully. If
Eat
it's
lots
snowing.
of whatever is traditional for you to eat, whether it's tacos, turkey, or something else. Enjoy it. And stay warm if you come from climates like ours. Stay cool if you come from Australia, because it's summer there now. And we'll talk to you all next week. Check my vlog on Boxing Day, the December 26th. I had to say Boxing Day because I think there are some places in the world they don't have Boxing Day with it. So December 26th, and we'll see you in another week. And Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good night.
Good night.